So we're live on Facebook, Simon. Second time in the week. We've not been live on Facebook together this much in the entire history of Pop-Up Business School.
I know. We're like buses, Alan, that you don't see one for ages and then we both turn up at once.
Yeah. Well, it's better to have two coming at once than none at all.
Oh, we're going there early, aren't we? Oh, my Lord.
The title was a positivity conference, so I thought I'd get straight in there.
Well, I suppose that's fairly positive. Yeah. I mean, yes, depending on your point of view, I suppose. But yes, it's great to see you. And look, we're just going to chat randomly for a second just to let this thing start off. I'm actually really, really pleased to see you today, more than usual. And that's mainly because you posted in our group when I it was either me or Jack put the advert for tonight in there, and you went, "Yes, I'll be there." And I thought, "Yes, I know you'll be there, Alan. You're in the bloody picture. Were you planning on not being there?"
Doesn't mean I'm going to show up, Simon.
Oh my Lord above. It's a crazy, crazy world at the moment, isn't it? So yeah, I think look, there's some stuff to talk about tonight, and I know we build this as a positivity conference, but I know you were quite keen to make sure that we're real as well. And I think, we're on exactly the same roller coaster that everyone else is at the moment. Yeah, so tell me, what's New Orleans been like today? And I wonder if it's been any different to the UK.
Well, let's just start with a theory to put this in a framework. And actually, my theory is that for any change to occur, you have to acknowledge what is going on at the moment. And if you don't see things as they are, there's no way you can create positive change. And blind optimism without seeing the issues, without knowing what to work with, doesn't actually help us. And I think that, for me, I've always wanted Pop-Up Business School to be 100% positive. But if we don't have that foundation of things are like this, how do we build from there? We can never create change. So I think that's where I really wanted to start today, was a real conversation, because the people in our support group, our audience, us, are going through some of the toughest times we've ever faced. And I was talking to Katie about this today as we walked around the deserted streets of New Orleans. I don't think I can remember a time like this. The '08 financial crash. It was nowhere near like this for us. Nowhere near. Other than that, the 2001 crash, I remember that being bad, but nothing like this. And then I think it's the ones that actually affected my childhood that were the biggest ones that have ever affected me. But there's never been a time like this, Simon. And I think there's signs of that when you just walk about.
Yeah, I think, I just popped out to my local takeaway this evening, and I think it's the hidden knock-on effects that we don't necessarily see right now, but those are the things that I think are going to have, a deeper effect and a deeper challenge for us. And you're absolutely right. You've got to have a realistic view before you can then get yourself into a good place and then start getting creative about solving the problems and so on. Let's just know what we're dealing with and what we're working with. Meanwhile, of course, there are so many unknowns, but I was chatting to the guys in the Indian takeaway, this awesome Bangladeshi family that run the takeaway from me. And they were saying that actually it's really tricky to get onions and really tricky to get chicken at the moment. So the price has gone through the roof. So actually, whilst we're not included in the shutdown of cafes and restaurants, because we don't have the same volume of people in a confined space for a long period of time, so it's okay for us to run. We actually might need to shut anyway because we can't afford to run it. We're not making any money out of these ingredients. So there's lots of hidden things going on at the moment. And whilst I'm the number one person in my world right now for going, look, anything's possible. Let's create the future. Let's navigate. Let's be positive. Let's figure out adapting. And my currency is ideas. You know how much I love creativity. It's all about that. But actually, some things have happened today that made me go, oh, Jesus, I didn't see that one coming. Okay, right. What does that mean? and trying to identify which of this stuff is real, which of this stuff is the media putting spins on things. And all of these things have a way of changing our state. And I think like that text message that you sent me today, Alan, I bet that you'd been through a state change, and that put me in a state change. And we both were sort of wrestling with the decisions that we made earlier in the week. Well, actually, that was 3 or 4 days ago now, and things have changed a lot in the last 3 or 4 days. Some more information's available. Maybe we need to pivot. Maybe we need to adapt and learn and go in a slightly different direction. And the analogy that I've been using, before we talk about that text in a minute, I'd love to know what went through your head just before you sent that. But the analogy that I've been using is a sailing one, which is a ridiculous one for me to use because I get massively seasick, which is quite embarrassing for me as I'm from the South Coast. I get massively seasick. But anyway, you know, you set sail and suddenly the wind blows you completely off course and you're heading in a different direction. But then you set a new course, and that seems like in the moment the right course to take. But then you need to adjust, and actually every few minutes you might need to adjust because the wind's changing direction all the time. Meanwhile, I'm getting a little bit seasick in the corner. So tell me about that text message, Alan. What went through your head earlier on?
So let's set the frame. There's a few people who've come and watched, which I love this, Simon. So saying hello to Catherine Turner and Debbie and Lucy and Liz and Dee. Russell's here, Kate Wood's here, Patricia Biddy, how are you? Caleb, Fran, Kez, Leslie. Like, this is a list of my favorite people from the pop-up events that are here. Fran Packwood, Stephen Murray, Lisa Cornwall, everyone is here. So hi to everyone. I love that you're here. What I want to be with all of you is open and vulnerable about the state of things. And actually, I think before anything, we need to get open and vulnerable. This actually started for us around about pop-up. It started for us around about 3 weeks ago, didn't it, Simon, when we got a message from Google that our event with them was cancelled in New York. Yeah. That was the first one to fall. Then it started to get serious in the UK. And what's the total now? I'm aware of 10 that have been postponed or cancelled, Simon. How many total now?
Yeah, we're still at 10, but in light of that news article and some of the information that suggests that it may be a little longer, who knows? But at the moment, we're working on, well, it's a maximum of 12. It's definitely 10. It's possibly 12 if we're looking at mid-August, which is, you know, it's getting close to a 200K impact on the business, perhaps a little more if you include some of the other stuff. So
it's more than that. It's probably more like a 300 grand vanished, gone. And if 300 grand has vanished and we're still expected to pay wages, operate, support people and do things, and how are you meant to do that when that money disappears? And I think that's the position Pop-Up's operating from. And then today I got an email personally from the tenants of our flat. So when Katie and I went nomadic, we rented out our flat. And we got an email saying, we've decided not to pay rent for 3 months based on the government advice. And suddenly 3 months of my rent have vanished, but my mortgage provider still wants paying. The electricity company still wants paying. And I think we've got to look at this situation and go, shit has got real and we need to do something about it. And the government is definitely reacting, things are happening, but we really need to realize the state of this. And actually that email I sent you this morning was a BBC article. And the BBC article said the lead scientist, and I don't often send Simon stuff. It needs to be from a trusted source. It needs to have some backed up data. I don't often send stuff like that.
I didn't even know you read the news, Alan.
I do when it affects my life, but in general, I avoid that stuff like the absolute plague. But this headline caught my attention. And the headline was actually, this could last for 12 months. Oh, and Katie's here.
Hello, everyone. Sorry to interrupt. I know there's a lot of important business going on.
Yes, we are businessing. But that email, that article from the BBC said actually social distancing, some of the measures that are coming in place, if we don't get this under control, could last for 12 months. And in the PopUp finance meeting last week, we worked out that the cash reserves that we built up would last less than that. Now, I'm suddenly thinking, if we run out of money, we can't pay staff, we can't pay us. How do we afford to live? And there's a big impact to that. And I think the challenge for us and the people listening, the audience, is what are we going to do now to protect ourselves from the coming storm? Because I think we're only just at the beginning of the storm. And how can we put ourselves in a place to come out of the storm in a rosy situation? And that's, yeah, I sent that because this is something we need to figure out together as a team, as a group, as a community.
So what should we do?
That's a strong message to start with a bit of realism that people probably weren't expecting from me.
Well, no, I think it's really interesting because this makes it real, because I think the we've been immersed in it, and I don't think I can remember a time when I've worked this hard. I've been pretty much flat out since about 6 a.m. Monday morning, and really immersed in it. And strangely, I've felt really energized. I've never been this excited about our business, which is a ridiculous position to be in. And I keep staring in the mirror going, is this right? Should I be more worried? And of course I am concerned. And I read stuff like that too. I'm staying away from the media mainly, but keeping myself informed, but staying away from, I could be watching that stuff all day long because it is interesting and it's fascinating to see it unfold, but it doesn't do me any favors. So I'm sort of thinking to myself, I'm feeling really energized. The decisions that we've made in the main, I think, are the right decisions, which are, we're on the front foot, we're generating ideas, we're working hard to put PopUp online, and we're taking the mission, which we've always had. And we remember the early days, Alan. I remember sat in a random community room in Weston-super-Mare on that very first course. And I remember you saying the words to me, I just want to help people. And I think that the mission that drove that, which is, anyone can start a business now. You don't need a business plan and you don't need debt. Let's just help as many people as we can start businesses, and let's find a way of giving it all away for free. Those moments that were the early days of PopUp are now 100 times more important than they were then. So I'm really committed to that. And I think the decisions that we've made and the ideas that we're generating out of necessity are really, really exciting. And I think, we're rolling the dice and making those happen. And I think maybe there's a conversation to be had about some of the spending decisions that we've made and going, is that right in the light of this new information and changing information? Because I know that when you spoke earlier on, you were sort of saying, well, we need to make 2-3 year decisions, not 6-month decisions, based on the fact that we still don't really know what we're dealing with here. But I think the bit that I was fascinated to chat about with you, because this is something that I've learned from you and from some of the self-development work that we've done together, the power of the state change. Because when you read an article like that, and when you're surrounded by all of this stuff, and we're living in a time that none of us have ever experienced before, it could be very, very easy, especially if you're not used to being at home for long periods of time, used to being surrounded by co-workers and so on. It'd be very easy to take a downward hit. How do you get yourself back into a positive mindset when you've had the sort of news that you've had today, and the concern over the finances and the concern of the business and the long-term risk that the BBC love to tell us every 10 minutes? What's your strategy to get back into a place where, you're kind of smiling, generating ideas and figuring out what to do next?
Well, I think you need to be aware of that stuff, because if you're not aware of that stuff, you're just plainly sailing into it. But as soon as you're aware of it, you're absolutely right. You have to change your state, change the way you feel, and get back to it. And Katie and I were actually talking about this tonight. I'm normally very good at it, but actually those down moments that I'm having are happening more frequently over the last week than they have in the last 5 years. And it's not that the down moments won't keep coming, it's how quickly you pick yourself up, which is this state change. So the quickest way to change your state is to change the way you move physically. That's the quickest way. It changes your heart rate, it pumps blood around your system, it releases endorphins, it releases neurochemicals into your brain that make you feel better. You need to change the way you move. So Katie and I have been jumping up from the couch. We've been moving the couch. We've been coming over here and doing Warrior 1 and Warrior 2, and we've been doing yoga courses. And you need to move to get that energy. And that's the bit, I think, number one way to change your state is move. The more you sit on a couch, the worse it gets. And the exercise Katie and I have set ourselves tonight is we're going to take one of the walls here and cover it with Post-it notes of different ways to change our mood. So we're going to have a list of 15 to 20 different ways to change our mood. And whenever we feel down, whenever the news gets to us, we will go to the wall, pick something and do it to change our state. And I think we all need to become experts in state change to remain positive.
I love that. Alan, you need to post a picture of the Post-it notes, or, you know, transcribe them, stick it in a blog post or something, because I reckon that would be helpful to a bunch of people. Like, there might be some weird stuff on the list that might need a parental advisory caveat to it. But yeah, I love that idea. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think, you know, the way that you and I are approaching it, and some of the other amazing people I've been chatting to this week, we're approaching it in lots of different ways, of course. But, you know, there was someone in our group earlier on, I think it was Kate, said, look, I've just accepted that this period isn't going to happen. I'm a mum. I've got 2 young kids at home. I'm responsible for caring for them. There's no way that I can run my business whilst, you know, especially without a support network, if you're the person that's solely responsible for feeding and looking after 2 small people, they tend to have quite short attention spans. And even with PJ Masks and Peppa Pig, one for the parents there, you still can't get enough time together to make it happen. So it's almost like I'm accepting that I'm going to stick a flag in the ground and go, enough's enough. I'm just going to look after them, look after myself. And I know we're going to take a hit financially, but we'll regroup when this craziness is over. What do you think about that? You know, does that sound like, I know we've got to choose what's right for us, but what advice would you give to Kate if she was presenting you with that kind of thought process?
So I think the advice I'd give to Kate is the same advice I'd give to anyone, that any decision is not 1 or 0. It's not a binary decision. What I mean by that, it's not either do nothing or do everything. There is always room in the middle. And the cost of doing nothing is you're not planting the seeds in the winter that will come through in the spring when we bounce. Back to analogy from last week. The cost of doing all the work now is that you don't look after your kids, you don't properly look after your household, you're not doing that stuff. So I think I would urge, it's not an either or. None of these things are. There's a guy called Ken who runs a blog called The Humble Penny. He's got kids, a family, and he's been doing the blog in the evenings. And he was building that blog with 2 hours an evening. There is a version that you can put an hour a day, half an hour a day. There is some kind of versions there that you can do. And it's never either or. It's never either or. And I'm sure, like, I don't have kids, so I can throw my time 100% into what I want to do, which is look after my relationships, look after my people, look after my business, do what I need to do. But I understand, and maybe this is actually a better question for you to answer, is Simon, is the kids bit and the balance between family, because you've got 3 kids, and I actually persuaded you come back to PopUp just as you're about to have your 3rd. That was good timing, leaving a high-paying job to come back to a startup at that point. But there is a bit about the kids as well.
Yeah, for sure. I did promise actually, Kate, and one or two others that that we'd make a video about this. And actually, one of the people that's been to a pop-up business school down in Farringdon in Oxfordshire is an awesome person called Kelly Wales. Kelly runs a support group for military mums in business, and I'm going to make a video with her about running a business from home and being the person responsible for childcare whilst trying to juggle all of the responsibilities of running a home and growing a business and so on. And she's got some fantastic insights, and it is really tough. And yes, you're right, Alan. In 2014, end of 2014, early 2015, I left the best job I've ever had, earning the most money I've ever earned. My wife was pregnant with our third son. The other two kids were at school, and it seemed like a good idea to come back and run pop-up business schools with you. And that was really tough. And I think, but you know what it's like for those people that are parents watching, you just do what you got to do. Like we all do, whether you're a parent or not. But in those early days, I was operating on 2 hours sleep. The alarm went off at 4:30, 5 in the morning, and I was heading off to whichever pop-up business school course we were running. And in those days, we didn't book hotels. I seem to remember we used to drive everywhere at 4 in the morning because we didn't have the cash to do it. So I think, I do have a genuine feeling that we are capable of much more than we think we are. And yes, in these tough times, there's lots of juggling to be done. I ended up going to 3 different shops yesterday whilst running the home. My wife was at work, juggling the kids, and obviously business has never been busier for us. And I think it's been tough. And the changes that I'm going to make next week are that we're going to have a much tighter routine and schedule. And I'm going to make some time to dip out of work. And actually, after the kids are in bed, that may be the time when the emails get written and all the work gets done. And I think, my day and the biorhythm is probably going to change. I think there's a chunk of work that I can do before the kids wake up. There's a chunk of work I can do at the end of the day. But that's work in progress. And I'm hoping that when I do that video with Kelly, I'm going to learn a whole bunch, and then we can share that with everybody else as well.
Because I think that's right. We're all making this up as we go along. Have you ever been confined to home before, Simon?
I don't think so. I think, I suppose there's been a few moments of, I did have a bit of an issue which put me in hospital a couple of years ago. I was confined to barracks for about a week, and it probably should have been about 6 weeks, but we were too busy and I had to get stuff done. But I'm not great advert for self-care at the moment, am I? But no, this is something that's new. And I suppose if I go back to when I left my first career in 2003 to start my first business, going from being surrounded by co-workers and having lots of fun and banter and so on, to just me on my own at home with 4 walls and a computer screen, I didn't realize how much it was important to me personally to have social contact, because I thought I'm a bit of an introvert. I thought I'm quite happy with my own company. It wouldn't have an impact. But, after 2 or 3 months, I was to be found rocking gently in the corner of my bedroom, tapping the computer screen with my head in a rhythmic sort of way, going, I didn't think entrepreneurship was going to be like this. And I do have a thought that that people that are used to having a destination, and we've been working remotely since PopUp began. So many of, whilst we're used to traveling around, we're used to working remotely too and working from home and so on. I think our transition on that side of things has been fairly smooth. Never mind the kids around, it's still been fairly smooth because they're used to me working from home. But, what was it like for you, Alan, when you first started working from home? Because obviously you were working contracts and out and about and so on. What was it like for you working from home, and what would be your top tips for people that are finding themselves confined to barracks for a long period of time for the first time?
That was a long time ago, Simon. But I did actually have to work through it. It was quite painful at the time, working at home and So what are my top tips? Number one is the sofa, the couch is your enemy. It will suck you in. You got to be careful with that. Number two is content, online, Netflix, television. You've got to be careful with that because that can suck you in. And when I was down at that point, my go-to option was to watch a movie or a TV show and I'd lose 2 hours. Now I have a completely different go-to, which is to jump up and buzz around. And I think actually we're back to state management, because when you're at home, you're in charge of your state. When you're at work, yeah, Kate Wood says, yes, I always fall asleep, haha. Kate, that is a big danger. If you fall asleep whilst you're working from home, there's a big danger. But it's your own state management, and how can you keep yourself positive and forward focused whilst at home? I think that's the most difficult bit. And you need a bunch of tools and techniques, from bouncing around, working on a question. The one I was speaking about with Kez last week was the asking yourself a question and being focused on that. Actually, the key to life for yourself at home is this state management and positivity. If you get in a funk, if you get in a spiral of doom, if you get in that downwards, life's bad, life's worse, blah, 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 you're lost. And then you've got to really fight to come back up. So the quicker you can change your state and move, the better. So we're back to that big list of things, and motivation. And one last element, which I know you'll build on, is you don't get motivated to do something, you get motivated by doing something. And I think it's dangerous at times like this to sit here and go, I'm done, I've got no motivation. And well, motivation isn't coming unless you get up and do something. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've had since the early days. I wouldn't take the action. I wouldn't do it.
So look, I think I'm going to go to Jack in a minute, because I think there's a couple of questions in there, and hiding behind the scenes is Jack, who makes sure that all the technology works or that I don't break it mainly. So if anyone's got any questions that you'd like us to have a go at answering and riff on, then please post it in the comments below. Jack's monitoring the comments. And just before I build on your doing something riff, just to say hi to Husna, and Kip's watching. It's great to see you here, Kip. Teresa, head of editing and proofreading, has suggested that we set new routines and timetables, and that's exactly what I'm going to do at the weekend. And I'm going to agree with the kids, and we're going to stick to it for as long as we can. And there's quite a few funny memes going around that day one was all about art, French, maths, English, and so on. Day two was about 6 hours of Xbox, but it's all work in progress, and, and we're figuring it out. Jack Aling is going to ask us a question shortly. Hey, Angie's just joined us. Lisa from Cornwall, Lisa Cornwall from, not Cornwall, from Devon, close. Great to see you here, Lisa. I love the idea of you creating the group. That looks brilliant. Yeah, Kathleen, I think you're right. I think having a nice working area is definitely something that I'm working on today. Was chatting about where I'm going to put the whiteboard. I'm going to get a whiteboard here and create some kind of area in the kitchen or my bedroom or something to have a place to go. Great to see Laura here. Laura jumped in the pool. That isn't actually your real middle name, but it should be. And Catherine from Doncaster, I'm so glad that you found the Doncaster pop-up helpful, and how amazing is Katie as a presenter, and I know you've had lots of fun with her. So Jack, there's a question in there somewhere, I think, that I might have missed.
Hello.
Yes, there you are, the voice of Jack.
I am the voice of doom. Wait, hang on, I'll make sure people can actually see my face.
Hi, Jack.
Hello.
There you go.
Excellent. Yes, I am hiding in the background, making sure that the live stream doesn't completely fall apart, or Simon doesn't accidentally post it on his personal page again. Stephen Murray asked a question. He said, how are you weighing decisions to simply adapt our current business to be available for people online versus creating a completely new business model?
So actually, I think that particular question, if your business was working before the virus hit, it will probably work afterwards. So you don't want to throw everything out because we're expecting things to come back. But we do need to change. We do need to adapt. So I see it as two levels. One is what we've got actually worked and is going to come back. And two is what's going to get us through the gap. And actually, there's a third one, which is there actually the thing that could replace PopUp permanently from this? And who knows, there might be a better way of doing it. This might change things forever for us, who knows? But those are the levels I'm looking at, is how can we get through the next 3, 6, 12 months? And then what actually are we doing afterwards? Are we just going back to business as usual, or is this going to change everything for us?
Yeah, I think if I was to build on that answer, Alan, I think we've gone back this week. We've gone back to startup mode, is what it feels like to me. And I think if I think back to those, in 2015 we had an empty calendar, and I had something like a 4-month, 5-month runway, and we had to go into sales mode very, very quickly. So we were testing and experimenting and emailing and calling and having as many. Those are the days when we went to every single meeting, even if our gut feel was that it probably wasn't going to lead to anything. And I think, obviously, I'm not going to meetings now, but virtually I am. And I've sent 5 emails today to CEOs of other organizations that we could potentially partner with. And look, I don't know if they're the right partnerships or not. I don't know if that's going to drive traffic to our page, if it's going to create an income and so on. But my gut feel right now is that feels like the right thing to do. And the reason I feel confident in my instinct is that I'm completely immersed in this challenge, and having regular conversations with the team, regular conversations with clients, with trusted friends, and just bouncing things off. And I'm very much about kinesthetic. I'm just kind of feeling my way through what's happening. And we've made a call this week, which actually, on balance, I wasn't sure if it's the right call. We've gone into taking our business model for running our live events, which is finding sponsors, to finding sponsors for an online thing and going to the same organizations. But actually, I've pulled back from that a little bit. I'm sort of thinking, I think there might be some sponsorship opportunities out there, but right now the right thing to do is to find out what people's problems are and then offer them some help without any expectation at this stage of money coming back for some of our clients. But there are definitely some opportunities for us to, frankly, to sell. And if we don't sell and find ways of engaging new customers, then, like Alan says, the runway suddenly becomes shorter because we're not being able to generate the income to pay the wages and so on. So I think it's ideas are the commodity that I'm dealing in right now. It's like, let's continue to develop ideas, to test them, just to do little experiments with them. James has been on the phone to clients. He's been sending emails and testing the little ideas that we've got coming out, and we're making them real. And you don't know if they're going to work until you put them in front of someone and ask them for cash. So it's almost like we've gone full circle, that we created this thing to help people. We've grown this business to a successful business. We've got 7 of us in the core team. There's 16 of us in the team, in the wider team. We've grown this business, and now this thing has happened, and we're straight back to the beginning again, in the same boat as everybody else, looking at a blank sheet of paper going, well, the world's changed, hasn't it? What do we do now? What do you think, Alan?
Well, I think this brings us back to the principles, Simon. And at times of challenge, it's go back to the principles. What are your principles? What are the principles of the business? And everyone who's on this Facebook Live now has probably been through the course and heard the principles of sell something to someone. And we need to do that. Done is better than perfect. That's where we are at the moment. And I think the startup principles that we teach are now more important than ever before, because yeah, in a lot of ways, we have all gone back to being an early stage startup.
Yeah, I'm just looking down the comments here. We've got Kez has made a comment about insurance. I think we'll circle back to that. John's being very entrepreneurial and asked if we can mention if anyone's a dog owner. I know that he's building a Facebook community for dog owners. He's asked if I can give him a shout out. So John MB, I know you sent me a message earlier. Unfortunately, we can't email everybody on our list about your dogs because that breaks the rules of GDPR. But I think I'm okay to mention your name on here and go join John's Facebook group about dogs. I don't know if that means you're an ecstatic dog or if you've got an ecstatic dog. Either or, that's all good. Angie's working on writing the 50 things that she can do in the next 12 weeks on personal development, exercise, and silly stuff too. It's the silly stuff that we want to hear about, Angie, so please share that and post that in the group. And Kim loves that idea. I bet she wants the silly stuff as well. Trevor's asking if we can get paid by doing it online. Sure, that's definitely what we're after. And Fran's going to join John's group by the looks of it, which is great news. And Ben Perrault from the American Mafia is on the line as well. Hello, Ben. Great to see you on here. Who else have we got? Lisa's doing to-do lists. Husna's asked the question. Jack, I'm going to come to you for this one as head of technology by account. Your year of birth is fairly recent. The question that Husna's asking is about Zoom and how to work Zoom with an associate and show slides recorded. I think that's a fairly quick win, isn't it, with screen share and so on?
Yeah, so without this sounding like a massive advert for Zoom, because now everyone is remotely working, Zoom has suddenly shot up because it's kind of like the new go-to thing. There are things like Skype, there are Google Hangouts, there are a million other ones, but Zoom is one of the big ones. It's one of the most user-friendly kind of like voice chats. So this Facebook Live is on Zoom. It's primarily used for private kind of like video conferencing. I saw in the comments, yes, so the free version is free for up to 40 minutes. We have one premium account that PopUp have, which enables us to live stream and go for slightly longer. We use that for when we have a lot of like overseas partner calls and stuff like that. But the rest of the team have free. When it's one-to-one calls, it's free for as long as you want. It's only 40 minutes for when there's 3 people or more. And the PopUp free shortcut that we always have is that I would say at least once a week, we have the conversation of, oh, there's a box in the corner that says we have 30 seconds left. Shall we start another call? And then we just send a new link. So when you log on, just go to the Zoom account, create yourself a free account. It'll give you a link. All you need to do is then text, email, however you want to send the other person the link. They click on that and they can access it. They can either download the program onto their phone or their computer, or they can access it directly in their browser, so Safari or Google Chrome. The paid version, you don't really get much more for it. We're playing around with it for the first time this week. This is kind of the first time we're using it. We're actually really using the premium features besides longer than 40 minutes. But yeah, you can share screens, you can share your slides. We're looking to experiment to do some of our online course stuff potentially with this. We might do some test runs in the support group. We'll let you guys know. But yeah, definitely explore Zoom. If you find any other cool alternatives, be sure to either post them in the comments here or the support group, because we want to know just as much as everyone else.
Thank you, Jack. That was not only was that expert, that was much more comprehensive than I thought you were going to do. That's why I came to you, because you know more things.
I've taken my eyes off the comments. John, yes, you can use your phone with Zoom. There's an app, either on the App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on what your poison is. Wow, how do you guys not get distracted by the comments? I feel like I'm getting very overwhelmed.
So look, Jane is here. Say hi to Jane. Great to see you here,
Hi, Jane Collins. Say hi to Jess and Jim. Sending you love.
Kim from the Bolton Mafia is baking toilet rolls in the oven for some upcoming craft blogs, which I think is fascinating and exciting. I can't wait to read and see all about that stuff. And Ben's got some information about Zoom that he's adding to what Nick said as well, which is awesome. And yeah, Kathleen's mentioning that there's Loom. I think that's the one that Sean likes to send videos on, and we can do good stuff with that. And Kim's asked the question, Alan or Jack, you might know the answer to this, or perhaps someone in the group does. Does anyone know how we can put free downloadable PDF resources on the website? Kim, I think would you have a Weebly website, or did you go with Wix in the end? But yeah, it should be pretty easy to get a PDF download on your website, right?
Weebly, in the drag and drop bar on the left, there's a button that says downloadable file. Just drag that in, upload the PDF, and people can download it. If you want to charge for it, that becomes slightly different. You could do a free version with a PayPal button and set up an autoresponder that sends the PDF afterwards via email once they've paid. Or Weebly has an advanced e-commerce version, but that's a paid for thing. So there's lots of options. There's lots of different ways to do it. You just need to play around with Weebly or your one, but you should absolutely be able to do that.
Great stuff. So, sorry, Jack, were you going to add something?
No, I was going to say, I'm going to hide in the background and collate some videos. So if you need me, just shout "young person" and he shall appear.
Like a genie. Jack, I'm going to find it. I've got an old lamp in the corner here. I'm just going to go on camera and rub the lamp, and then I expect you to appear. The lamp, Alan, don't do that face. So look, Hannah's arrived. Jack Marsh, I know I'm staff, but I have a question. I'd love to know 3 things that you're excited on in work and life right now. Marshy, what a question that is. Alan, I'm going to go to you first because you're much better thinking on your feet than me. What are the 3 things that you are excited about in work and life right now?
Yeah, Jack Marsh, that is a brilliant question. And that's actually one that everyone on this Facebook Live should be thinking about and answering, because it's a question that focuses you on the future and what to do next. What am I excited about? Number one, this has given me a huge amount of time to do yoga videos, HIIT videos, and work on my health. And I'm thinner than ever and stronger than ever. So I'm working on my health. Number two, it's given me an opportunity to experiment with tech. You do not need a young person. Let's bust that rumor. You do not need a Jack.
It helps.
Yourself. It does help. Obviously, we love Jack. We're still going to pay your wage. But Simon, we can still learn tech too. We are not past it. Anyone can do this stuff. So it's actually giving me an opportunity to learn new things. And number three, I have been really excited about writing my blog and sharing tools, techniques, and tips with people. And the response to the blog articles I've written over the last week has been phenomenal. And actually, it's given me a platform to help more people, which I just want to contribute at the moment.
I love that. And I was so interested in your answers that I forgot to process my own answers to Marshy's question. But I think just to pick up on a couple of things that you said. So the oldest participant of a pop-up business school is Jim. Jim's an artist. When he came to PopUp, he's 83 years old. Jim uses Twitter, Instagram, and built a Weebly website through our course. So you're absolutely right. Age isn't a barrier. It's more about us recognizing that. And I think some of the challenges that I found with some of this stuff is that my approach is to I just dive in, and then I roll up my sleeves, create a login, dive in, experiment, and so on. But that experimentation is great and it gets you started, but there is a risk that if you don't keep your learning going, that you plateau, that you can only take it so far. It's a little bit like teaching the building websites using Weebly is a great example, because unless someone says to you, sometimes if there's a break in the Wi-Fi, the screen freezes and you have to refresh the page. Now, if you're not tech, comfortable with tech and using it all the time, you might not know that. Sometimes you need to do that extra bit of learning that breaks the plateau and gets you to the next level. But I think, you've got to stick with these things, haven't you? And I think if you're gonna learn a new skill, it's not just the time that you put in, it's also about the effort that you put into to learn how to use it and so on.
Can I just add to that before you
go
move
ahead.
on?
Yeah,
Adding to that is, that we are in the most fortunate time ever with YouTube. There is a free video on how to do anything. All you need to do is go to YouTube and type it in. And if you combine Simon's experimentation with watching a video of how to do it, testing it, learning it, and looping back round and doing it again, it's unbelievable how much progress you can make and how quickly. Unbelievable. So I just wanted to add, I think there's never been a better time to try this stuff.
Great stuff. And I think the just to go back to Marshy's question about what's exciting me the most at the moment, just before I answer it, you said earlier on that the fastest way to change your focus is to move your body. I absolutely love that, and you're quite right. And I think the other way would be to change your focus, and a question like that just takes you out of the funk and into what possibilities are. So I love the question. Marshy, please, can you ask me that question every day for at least the next fortnight? Because I'll probably forget. And look, the stuff that I'm excited about, number one, is one of the ideas that we're cooking up in this moment, to see that fly and help the business and help other people that we're trying to support with their business ideas. To see that thing realized, I think that excites me massively, to figure out how to navigate through and lead the team and my family and my loved ones through this little period. That challenge actually really excites me in a strange kind of way. Secondly, I guess we've got some fun stuff happening with John and Corin Card, who are supporting us with telling the story of PopUp and getting us out there in the media. We've had some interest from national newspapers and potentially writing regular columns about business and about how to support small businesses and self-employed people and freelancers through this next phase. That really excites me because it helps put our message on a bigger platform. And thirdly, I'm out of my comfort zone with this stuff. For those people that are hesitating on making videos, for those people that are hesitating on doing Facebook Lives and getting out there, I am the reason why you should, because as Alan joked at the start, he's been trying to get me to do video for about 5 years, and occasionally I've done it, and I've done a few bits here and there, but it's felt massively uncomfortable. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed these Facebook Live sessions this week. Whilst they haven't been perfect, some guy commented that I shouldn't do my hair at the start of a Facebook Live post. He said that I think I was doing this just as it went live, just to make sure that I looked moderately presentable. And I was kind of going, yeah, but what was the content like? Was anything interested in it? Well, he wasn't listening because he was too worried that I'd broken the etiquette of videos. God bless him, but done is better than perfect. Make the video, press record, press live, do the stuff that makes you feel uncomfortable. And if it doesn't go right first time, if it's not perfect first time, good, because it means that you're doing it right and it means that you're learning. And now is the time to do that stuff. This is the time where it doesn't really matter what you do. What do you think, Alan? I'm doing videos at last.
You're doing it, Simon. You're doing it. And it's way better than when I had to force you to do it. Laura jumped in the pool, just said she did her first yoga video on Facebook this evening. So Laura's out there doing it. And one of our one of my favorite success stories out of everything we've done is what Laura has done. Having met her in Newport Market at a pop-up 3 years ago, to seeing her today running her own yoga business and yoga events around the world. Well, she was running yoga events around the world, but now she's running them online. It's phenomenal. And I think you're right. There is actually, so if you look at the population out there and what's going on, now's the time to test, because people know that you're changing and you're trying things, and they're actually more forgiving of businesses now than they ever would have been before. So I think there's never been a better time to try this stuff, to get online, to have a go. There's never been a better time to experiment. And the worst that happens is it doesn't work and you wait 3 months and go back to doing what you were doing before. That's the worst that happens. And maybe this bloke who didn't like your hair never comes back. Well, you know what I want to say. It involves many expletives. And I have this on my blog. People get very het up over the fact I don't spell words correctly all the time. And my response is, do you like my content? Do you like my thoughts? Would you prefer me to spend more time getting my thoughts out there, or more time double checking every spelling of every word? And there's going to be a whole bunch of people that would prefer me to spell every word correct, and that's fine. Go to someone else's blog. There's other people who can get past it, and well, I'll do everything I can to help them.
Alan, I quite like your spelling. It's part of your charm. I remember, you used to make a website after a business meeting, and by the time I'd arrived home, you'd already published the website, and I would go mad because you used the wrong picture, the wrong words, and there were spelling mistakes all over it. But the key to it is that you'd already sold one because you'd rung 3 people and told them about it. So, that mantra and all the principles of PopUp about, it's all about trust. Done is better than perfect. Have an unreasonable sense of urgency to get stuff done is all true. I think, we're just coming up to 10, so I think we've got time for a few closing thoughts and then an idea about what next. Have I triggered a thought in your mind? You were
No, I can't believe it's 10. This has gone in a snip of her fingers.
So a couple of thoughts on my mind. One of my thoughts is that my mind's gone blank. What was I going to say? Oh, I know what I was going to say. No, I've forgotten. What was I going to say? Come on, we've been business partners for years. I was going to say something. It was going to be good.
About the closing comments and the closing thoughts, that this is the time to make changes.
Oh yeah. Oh, thank you. I know what it was. It was nothing like that, but you have triggered the thought again. Thank you. So, the thing that was in my mind is so Gillian. That Alan, Gillian from Chautauqua and from the financial independence world. I remember having a conversation with Gillian last year, and she said because I have a tendency to keep on pushing hard all the time, striving to make ideas happen and putting myself out of my comfort zone every single day to make something happen. And I was starting to get a bit worn down. And she said, her analogy was great. It was, if you're splashing around the deep end of the pool, sometimes you need to get out of the water, dry off, have a hug with a towel, drink a cup of tea, have a biscuit, and just relax and give yourself some love and just calm down, but just to summon up the energy to get back in the pool again. So there is, for me, there's a very important self-care element to all of the craziness that's going on at the moment, because if we spend our time worried, anxious, staring at social media, staring at the TV, reading the newspapers and so on, that it's going to have a significant impact on our well-being. So part of my strategy for next week and over the weekend is to take some time out to rest, take stock, breathe deeply, meditate, just take some time out to allow my body and my brain to recover. And then that's going to help me summon up the energy, enthusiasm and creativity to go again next week. And I know what happened at the weekend. I'll be too excited. I'll get drawn into writing blog posts and articles and figuring out ideas for the team for next week. But I'm going to force myself to rest and just chill out, get out of the pool, stop splashing around for a little while, rest, and then ready to go again. So I wanted to share that because I felt like that's an important thing that we need to be mindful of. I just wonder what your closing thoughts are, and then perhaps a thought about when we do the next one of these.
So Angie's actually said one of the things I wanted to say in the comments. Thank you, Angie Beeston. It is, as with everything we do, it's what actions are you going to take? So you've been chatting to us for an hour, you've been part of this. What are you actually going to do? Are you going to do a yoga course every day? Are you going to meditate every day? Are you going to go out there and make 5 sales calls to your customers tomorrow? What are you actually going to do? Because it's the action that makes this happen. And I think Katie and I were reflecting earlier today, and she said one of the things that makes me different, that makes Alan different, is I read a self-development book and then I do all the actions. I actually do the stuff. And that's what will truly change things for you, is if you actually do it. So if you liked my idea of the post-it notes on the wall with the different ways to change your state, do it. Get the post-it notes out. If you don't have post-its, who cares? Write it on the paintwork. It doesn't matter. Do it. Take the action. Yes, I actually said that, Simon. But you've got to do it. Lisa says she's going to go and do YouTube videos. I absolutely love that. It's the action. So what I would love you to do is, after this call, what are the 2 things you're going to do, and when are you going to do them, and get on with it straight away? Because this change has given us an opportunity to create change for us. So take that opportunity and let's build something, let's create something, let's do something different. And your actions compounding over time will create the future that you want. That's what I really wanted to say to people. Yeah, Lisa Marie says, I'm going to get up off the sofa and turn the TV off. Hell yes, switch me off, get out there, do stuff, Lisa. All of you, turn me off, please go do things. That's what Simon and I wish for all of us, is to make stuff happen.
I love it. Alan, we'd rather turn you off than turn you on. So I'd just like to, just to say, oh, well, Fran's made sales today through Facebook by going by your rules. Alan, I love that. Teresa suggested we look at Peter Crone's videos on Instagram about reframing. Husna's taken action every day. Jodie, I noticed earlier that you read through your notes from the pop-up course and got some energy from that, which is brilliant. If you've got landlords, then no wall writing, please, says Marshy. Good bit of advice for keeping your tenancy in place. Oliver's gone matron. So yeah, there's some good stuff in here. Rachel's got some inspiration. She's done a TEFL course, got something from a pep talk, and Lisa's doing YouTubes. This is just brilliant. And Debbie, just a shout to Debbie from Doncaster, who graduated from the Doncaster pop-up today. There's been some disruption there and you stuck with it. So credit to you for that, Debbie. You're part of our family now. There's no escape. We've got you now. So Alan and I and Jack, thank you, Jack. I don't know, Jack, are there any thoughts that you wanted to add? Are you still there, or have you been at the Jack Daniels whilst you've been waiting for us?
So I can really answer some of those questions.
He's here.
I am here. My biggest question is, when are we planning to do the next one of these?
Simon,
Jack. Alan, you look like you were about to say something. Well, I'm thinking that we should do Monday. I don't know if, but should we check in over the weekend? Are you around Monday, Alan? Should we do it again?
I'm currently on lockdown in New Orleans. I have no plans for the foreseeable future. I'm available.
Have you cleared your diary for us?
I think we should get Katie Coombs on. I really miss Casey and I'd love her to come on. So let's email Casey. I know she's been watching tonight. I'd like her to come on the show as soon as she runs the courses.
Yes.
And let's do that. And yeah, I want to keep giving energy and inspiration to the people we work with.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's aim for 9 p.m. Monday. Keep your eyes on social media and we'll lock that in and we'll set up another event. That was a good call. We've just hit an hour. Nice work, everyone.
Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Good luck. Stay safe.
Goodbye.
Travels.